Hi everybody, this is day 6 and it looks like we're in another heat wave, so it's a great time to stay indoors in the air conditioning, watch a ball game and do some knitting. So that's what I've been doing, and I'm going to share with you what's up with my bubblegum top. If you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that I've been knitting with this Colorstory yarn, Merino DK, and it's called Bubblegum. And I got a little bit bored, so I started adding some lace. And then more recently, I decided to cast off the stitches and crochet a particular star design. And then I'll pick the stitches up again and continue knitting. Here's a sample of the star or snowflake design. Now the way I do this is I take a crochet hook, and of course my stitches are still on my needle, and I put the crochet hook through one of the stitches on the needle and I pull the thread through, then I pull it through 2 stitches. I'll do this a few times so that you can see, but it also works as a great stretchy bind off. So you use your crochet hook, if you have one, to cast off your stitches if you're finished with your piece you're knitting. So this is how I do it. Put the crochet hook through the stitch that's still on the needle, and then I do yarn over and I pull it through the 2 stitches. So you see I still have a stitch left on the crochet hook, and I just pull it through, pull the stitches through, and that's how I'm binding off. But I'm going to be picking up these stitches later on to do the star motif. And the way I do that is I just get my crochet hook in there and I start working on the stitches. Now, first of all, I do a foundation row. So I already have cast off my stitches. Now I'm just picking them up again just to clarify where I'm going to be inserting my needle, so that when I do this star pattern, it'll be very obvious as to where I need to put my needle through, my hook through. Because this has been primarily a knitting channel, I'm not going to explain how I'm doing the crocheting. Maybe at a later date I will, but right now I just wanted to highlight the point that sometimes I mix up my knitting with my crochet. So there's certain things you can do with crochet, certain patterns that you can use, and there's certain things you can do with knitting, and I sometimes like to mix them up. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing this crochet motif. Now, I did mention that it is a good way to cast off your work if you use a crochet hook. So I showed you my method, and then I looked at Norman of Nimbleneedles, and I'm going to show you how he does it because I liked his style. Now what he does is, I think it's a little bit more simple than what I did. He will put his crochet hook through the stitch on the needle, pull the thread through, and then he takes that same thread and pulls it through the one that is on the hook, the crochet hook. So he puts it through the stitch on the needle, pulls up the thread, and he takes that same thread through the hook. Now to me, that is simple. That is a great way to do it, and it's a little bit less cumbersome than what I was doing. But hey, I did it, and whatever you do, make sure you're consistent and do it all the way around. I have finished my rows of crocheting, and now I am picking the stitches back up on my knitting needle. And that's a relatively simple procedure. You just put the needle through the hole where you would normally put your crochet hook. In this case, I'm putting the knitting needle through that space, yarn over, pull it through, and continue on. And then you have your stitches. And then you just start knitting as normal, which is what I'm going to do for a few more rows. And then I'm just about ready to divide my work into 2, front and back, and work up those 2 sides. Yay! It's getting there.
It's going to be on those pictures right there. The off-speed connects the slider. Expect Kevin to stay with that, either the slider or the splitter. Splitter and a swing and a miss. 1 and 2, and that one moving straight down. If you come back with the same pitch, the hardest thing for pitchers to tell yourself it doesn't have to be better. How many times over the years as a catcher said, just throw the same way, it doesn't have to be better, because now you try to make it better and you're really gripping a little bit too hard. But that's a perfect location there to throw it again. And he got him right back to the split. 1 down.
On July 11th, the entire world will look up. Get ready for James Gunn's Superman on the big screen. Tickets on sale now.
Blue Jays